does these remakes of these classic films ruin the legacy, or is it introducing them to a new generation?
This rendition of Wolverine is still talked about to this day, to the point where he came back and reprised the role.
Absolutely.
And still did good.
Yeah, it was fire.
Yeah, it was.
You know what I'm saying? You had Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, man.
Then you had Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
That's what happened to Neo. And then when he had to be reminded of who he was, that little girl called Rabbit, the same Rabbit he had to follow in part 1.
It was crazy because I just recently saw him in Bad Boys for Life.
Yes.
Oh shit, that's
Yeah,
Mr. Fantastic.
that's the first thing I said. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Still don't know his name, and I can't even
Right.
say his name.
He says, you know what I do for a living,
Greatest
right?
mind, yeah.
You know that I have a bunch of mutants on standby,
Yeah.
ready to trample this place.
Right now.
Which part 2 was about.
Let's role reverse it. Let's reboot it.
Yeah.
Let's now look at this in the eyes of an ape, of a chimpanzee. Let's look at this through the eyes of Caesar. What's good, y'all? Welcome to America's favorite underrated debate show. Call it how I see it. I'm your host, Shotime SP, the fly on the wall in the middle of it all.
And I'm also your host, King T-Reid, the king, ruler of everything. But we can talk about anything. Speaking about talking about anything, I need you to sucker punch that like button. Subscribe to Call It How I See It show on YouTube and wherever you find your podcast.
T-Reid, how are you doing today, my brother?
Listen, man, if I had your hand, I'd cut mine off. How you
Man,
make
listen, look, and I'll tell you what, if you cut it off, just make you sew it up. I want to look good, you know what I'm saying? I be rocking the nub. I be all right with the nub, you feel
man,
me?
listen.
But if I were to cut my hand off, they would have to remake that hand, if you will. You know what I'm saying? And maybe because it's a bionic hand, they would consider it a reboot. You know? You see, I'm trying to segue here. I'm trying to work on my segues in this joint. I'm trying to do what I can here on this show.
Indeed.
But we here at Call It How I See It. We like to talk about the controversial stuff. We need to talk about some heavy-handed things.
Let's talk about it.
And then on this subject today, we're going to talk about some movies.
Ooh,
right? We're going to talk about movies. But we ain't going to pick no favorite movies or anything like that. Let's really get into the bread and butter.
Okay.
Remakes. Reboots.
Oh.
Like, are these remakes classics? And are they, when they try to make a sequel or a reboot of it, is it ruining the legacy, or is it introducing us to a new generation?
I got a couple myself.
Yeah, I mean, I got a few. You know what I'm saying? I got a few that, you know, if you want to get a nice frame of reference when we talk about like a reboot and a remake. So a reboot would be a film of which that the film has came out before, and they basically take that same formula and they add new characters, and they'll take that same character and just give them a brand new polish or the finish. The remake is more of the remake is similar to the reboot, but they throw in a different couple nuances, or they'll say, well, this happened in this movie, but this didn't happen in this movie. This is now going to be those things.
Yeah.
When I think of those type of movies, I can think of a few that they did make that was not bad.
Right.
But was it better than the original? Nah. Then there are some movies that they rebooted or remade and gave it a different style.
Absolutely.
And I enjoyed that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So we're going to get into that. Yeah. For example, if you guys want to talk about it, let's stay within the superhero realm. We love talking about superhero movies, right?
We do.
So you remember the Fantastic Four?
Unfortunately,
one that came out in 2005 with Jessica Alba and the dude from The Shield. And you had Reed Richards. I knew who he was. It was crazy because I just recently saw him in Bad Boys for Life.
Yes.
Oh shit, that's Mr. Fantastic.
That's the first thing I said.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Still don't know his name, and I can't even say his name. His name is something I can't spell.
Right.
Editor, put the name of the actor right here. Yeah, you pronounce that. So but you got to look at the movie itself. It wasn't bad because you also saw the first iteration of what Chris Evans could do as a superhero.
Sure.
Johnny Storm.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, I like
that. Was a good character. That was a good character.
So I felt like it was palatable. It was good. Then you know, the second one.
No.
All right. I mean, truth be told, Lawrence Fishburne as the Silver Surfer, that kind of, made me feel the type of way. But hey, it is what it is.
Well, no, listen. Lawrence Fishburne has a great voice. I'm not mad at that. Just like
Dorian
and
Red.
we're going to segue a little bit. Just like James Earl Jones did Darth Vader.
Yeah.
It was good. It worked.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at the franchise. I'm not mad at the direction that they wanted to go. I was mad at the acting.
Yeah. Okay.
The acting was
in
poor.
Okay. Now, so my question is, if the acting was poor in that Fantastic Four, that was 2005, right?
Bad.
How do you feel about the Fantastic Four that came out in 2015? The Fan Four stick?
I think there's a word for it.
Go ahead.
Terrible. It was
Terrible? Ooh,
Terrible.
I like to call it Fan Four shit.
It was Michael Jackson bad.
Yeah,
it was
like
terrible.
The things that occurred in that movie,
yes, sir. It didn't make any sense.
It didn't make any sense.
No, not at all.
I do believe we were talking off camera. Is that I'd rather take the Chris Evans Johnny Storm, over Michael B. Jordan's Johnny Storm. Like, I hated that movie.
I did.
I turned it off.
I did.
It was that bad for me.
I didn't turn it off in the beginning because sometimes somebody can prematurely make a decision, and sometimes that premature decision could be the worst or the best. I realized that, unfortunately, me sitting and watching that whole movie was 2 hours and 5 minutes that I cannot get back.
Obviously. So what happened was, once they got to the planet and they found Dr. Doom and they pulled whatever that it looked like solder. It looked like that like liquid metal person out of that planet. Y'all cut it off. So I can't tell you what happened at the end of that. It was terrible. Absolutely, you know what I mean? Bad. But I gotta give that as a frame of reference because it's a movie that they did and then they remade it and it was worse. Like, it was already bad. But it then made it worse. So it kind of makes you take the other one. Like, all right, well, I'll at least take that Fantastic Four.
You could have just left it alone.
Yeah. What's one of your picks?
So my picks is X-Men. So
the
beginning of X-Men was pretty good because everybody's fan favorite is Wolverine. Now, Hugh Jackman's been out. He's been in previous films. He's done things. But this rendition of Wolverine is still talked about to this day, to the point where he came back and reprised the role.
Absolutely.
And still did good.
Yeah.
At his age and at the CGI, which we're not going to discuss. But the fact of the matter is that movie right there, it grossed 746 million. 746 million.
I mean,
but that was long awaited because we got the anime,
we
got the comic books, we got the cartoon. We didn't get the cinema.
Right.
We got the cinema. We got Halle Berry as Storm. We got Hugh Jackman. We got. Wait a minute. What you say? What's wrong with you?
See now. If we
talk about Jessica Alba,
I mean, you're right. And Halle Berry. Now I just don't see Halle Berry playing well as superheroes because she has two. Well, Catwoman's not really a superhero, but she played two movies, and you know what I'm saying? Like, she doesn't portray her like I'd rather Halle be Halle or whatever, whatever
swordfish.
Whatever,
being swordfish.
Yeah, being swordfish.
You know what I'm saying? That was Halle. Yeah,
you know what I mean? I loved her in Strictly Business. You know what I mean? She was. It was that.
Baps. She was good in Baps.
Baps. Okay.
She played Halle Berry in Baps.
But I don't think her in tights was what I necessarily needed to see. And then the line that really pissed me off.
Oh yeah, you know what happens when a frog gets electrocuted?
What happens?
The same thing that happens to everything else. You know what? I think that was off the top. Yeah. I don't think that was originally.
I hope so.
That wasn't written.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
It did because he got electrocuted, and then if I got electrocuted, I probably would have been electrocuted the same as the frog.
Yeah.
So I get that, but I don't think that was written. I think that was off the top.
Well, you did have 3 of those X-Men movies.
I did. So the first one was pretty good. The second one was even better because there's another version of Wolverine. He is the teacher now.
Yeah.
Because in the first Wolverine, he was trying to figure it out because if you look at the comic books, he went to Professor X after his memory was lost by William Stryker.
Right.
William Stryker shot him in the dome.
He did.
After
with an adamantium bullet.
With an adamantium bullet, and he erased all that.
Yep.
He didn't remember nothing to the point where when he seen him in X-Men 2, he thought he was his daddy.
Yeah.
See how he looked at it?
Yeah. He's like, it's something about him.
I
want to hug him.
And the fact that the Iceman had to put an ice wall between him, he knew because Wolverine had a short fuse.
Yeah.
He knew if he realized that was William Stryker, the man that erased my memory, the man that took my life from me,
he was gonna smoke that man.
The man that took my love from me,
a turkey or a brisket, he was gonna get smoked that night.
He was gonna get chopped up and diced.
Yeah,
but that movie, that movie,
I can't complain about X2. X2 is one of my of that trilogy. X2 was my favorite. Storyline wise, was great. The villain was not bad because once again you're dealing with Magneto, but Magneto's not really there. It's really William Stryker who ends up being the
and the fact
the son.
But see, the son was dangerous because he had telekinesis to the third power. Yeah, a lot of people, along with his dad, thought that he was broken. Because his power was that severe. Yeah, he was a top tier mutant. Yeah, so therefore. He was like, "Hey, Professor X, I need you to fix him." Professor X was like, "You tried to erase Logan. Yeah, I'm not fixing nothing.
I'm not helping you."
William Stryker said, "You know what I do for a living, right?
Mind, yeah.
You know that I have a bunch of mutants on standby, ready to trample this place
right now." Which
part 2 was about?
Kill all of the mutants.
I need all of y'all disco dead. I need all of y'all disco dead. And then part 3 ushered in.
Go ahead.
X-Men United, which was my personal
Last Stand.
Last Stand. That was my personal favorite. And
really?
My personal favorite.
That was your personal favorite?
Absolutely, because Wolverine was the lead in that movie. Meaning Cyclops was dead at that point. Cyclops was obliterated.
Okay.
Jean,
but why though?
Because Jean went rogue and Jean went rogue, right? And then she became the Phoenix,
right?
She became the Phoenix
and killed Scott.
She
no reason.
Dismantled him, dusted him.
That's her man.
Literally,
but that was her man.
Yeah.
Why?
Because the Phoenix was unstable. Phoenix is not just Jean Grey. Yeah. The Phoenix was involved in everybody when it came to the comics. The Phoenix was in Logan. The Phoenix was in the Punisher. The Phoenix was in all type of characters, and that was an entity, its own entity.
Yeah.
Right. So
whenever you think of the Phoenix, you do
right.
Yeah.
Of course, you think of Jean because that was the most popular one. Yeah. But at the end of the day, Phoenix is his own entity, like Venom.
Got you.
The Venom, the Celestial.
Yeah.
Venom is a celestial.
Yeah,
it's not Brock.
Yeah.
It's not Eddie Brock.
No.
It's a celestial. The same thing that dwelled in Spider-Man is the same thing that dwelled in Eddie Brock.
I got you.
And it was the alter ego. Right. Like Jim Carrey's mask.
Yeah.
The alter ego.
I'm with you.
You know what I mean? But go ahead.
Problem that I have with that one.
Oh, talk to me.
Is so that one was fine.
It's beautiful.
But in this situation, I believe that the reboot was a little bit better.
First Class?
No, yes, I believe First Class.
What's wrong with you?
And hold on, I'm not saying the whole saga. I will say if we're gonna go 1, 2, and 3, I would pick the X-Men's reboot was a little better, storyline wise and character development wise. You actually understood Professor X and Magneto's their friendship and why it was so separated the way that it was. The reason why Professor X is even paralyzed is because of a decision that he wanted to make between him and Magneto. Magneto could have saved that bully, but he didn't. You know what I mean? Like he tried to catch the bullet, and like I like that. I like that part. I also feel like Days of Future Past is better than all of the other X-Men movies.
But you want to know why? Because the original cast was there.
That could be. That's
Hugh Jackman reprised his role as Wolverine, and he was aged.
Yeah,
he was older. He was an older Wolverine.
They gave him more of a. They gave him a better arc and a better storyline. As far as the Days of Future Past, that to me is the only one that they did where it came to time traveling or time jumping and stuff like that, and it kind of made sense. It's like in other time movies or movies that we love that are generated towards time. Yeah. It's a little bit convoluted. It's well, why? How did you have enough juice to go there when y'all only had enough to go to this spot? And here it's just Kitty's just in his mind. You know what I mean? Like she's just working on it. But the question that you asking or the question that I had is, when the hell Kitty get that power?
Days of Future Past, and the fact that in another timeline, which they were in another. Kitty, she evolved other powers because that's not the same Kitty as you've seen as the last X-Men.
Yeah, you're
right.
It's
different, and the fact that X-Men 3, Wolverine allegedly, passed away, and he had to come back.
Yeah.
So he came back along with Professor X because you remember, Jean Grey obliterated him too.
True.
Turned him into dust.
So if you had to pick, so you're saying the original?
Yes.
So you're saying the original 3.
Yes, the original 3 is better than
the original Bryan Singer 3.
Wait. The original first X-Men was better than the first class.
Okay.
I can deal with that.
Okay.
Now, I'm not going to say that X-Men 2 was better than Days of Future Past because that's blasphemy. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that. However, X-Men the first movie was way better than X-Men First Class because that's a fresh Professor X, which people are not necessarily privy to. You know, the first time you seen Professor X in the comic books, he didn't have hair.
Yeah. He was bald then, yeah. So I get what you're saying. I mean,
you know what I mean. And the fact that they expressed their friendship not only because you think about it, the cinema was picking up where the cartoon left off. You know, the cartoon left off with Jean Grey and the Phoenix, right? Yep. So once they reprised that, you know, everything that was talked about in that version was explained through the movie. So we didn't have to go backwards. I didn't see why they had to go backwards, and they had more to talk about moving forward. Okay. You know, you have Wolverine's daughter. You have Jean Grey and Cyclops' son, which is Cable. Yeah. He's a time traveler.
That's a whole thing that they never even touched.
Yeah, you see them until now.
Well, that's on the cartoon too.
Right. Yeah, you see, yeah.
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that.
Please.
Okay.
Please.
Well, all right. Well, I see your X-Men example. Well, then let me throw another one in there.
Talk to me.
If we really want to jump into it, let's talk about one of my personal favorite movies. Because this was around that time. I'm big on nostalgia. If y'all haven't noticed, I'm already big on nostalgia. Okay. If it relates to me as a child when I was younger, it's probably going to have a bigger impact in my life as an adult.
I think I met her before.
Let's talk about The Matrix. All right?
Okay, so let's talk about that.
The Matrix is indeed its own movie, right?
Absolutely.
And then there was the sequel that was Matrix Reloaded.
Which is beautiful.
And then we had Matrix Revolutions.
Which is awesome. It was understanding. Go ahead.
All right, so I'm gonna put it to you like this. So the very first Matrix, we're not gonna talk about that. Cinema, that's a classic. As far as visual wise, the stop motion, it laid the foreground for all of the action movies. That
Neo realized he was the one.
Needle. That like that also revamped Keanu Reeves instead of being the world. Dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? As far as we knew Keanu Reeves,
he was Bill and Ted.
Yeah, he was Bill and Ted. That's all we knew him as.
Yeah, absolutely.
This made him a certified badass,
and
then made him catapult into one of the most dangerous men we love to see in any movie. So this movie is pivotal.
Right.
The second one, they then upped the storyline a little bit better. I love the multiple Smiths.
Yes.
And the fact that he was out of it and then he joined it.
Yes.
Then the cliffhanger they left at the end, where it was like the only person that was just as similar to you and that can jump into the Matrix the way that you are was this person we just randomly found.
Absolutely.
Come to find out, it was the Smith that jumped into it. Right.
Loved it.
Now, the crash and burn happens.
Go ahead. Yes.
In Revolution.
Yes, sir.
Like it happens in that because they have to talk about so many things.
Of course.
Or try to compile it all or make it all a trilogy.
To make it make sense.
And from what I'm understanding, Reloaded and Resolutions was basically recorded at the same time. So they just split it into two.
Absolutely.
But if I gotta be honest here.
Talk to me.
You could have shaved a lot of that stuff from Revolutions.
What would you have shaved?
Of course, the train scene. I really didn't care about the daughter, Seti.
Really?
I didn't care about the daughter. I didn't really care about the daughter. Like,
you know how she ties into all this, though, right?
It's because she's supposed to be the new age or the new step into the new Matrix,
the new Oracle.
The new Oracle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds fine.
Beautiful.
But it doesn't make any sense as where did the old Oracle go? We never see her because we see her at the end going, but we see her talking to the architect.
Absolutely.
So we don't see Seti as the new Oracle. Like that doesn't give us any streamline towards it. The train situation, totally pointless.
The timekeeper.
Yeah. Totally pointless.
Yeah, 30 watches on one arm.
Why?
He was telling time from different avenues and different aspects.
But I felt like the Matrix gave us a world, and we wanted to know more about the world, and they gave us more in Reloaded.
Absolutely.
Then they gave us too much information in Resolutions. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, the conversation between Neo and the architect to this day does not make any sense to me.
What?
It does not make any sense to me.
What?
Listen. You know who the boss sound like? The architect sound like? Boss sound like in the beginning of Law and Order when he got to give you the premise. These are everyone's stories, and everyone's stories is in different settings, and these are everyone's situations.
Right.
It's like we made the anomaly. Like I'm like, yo, I gotta watch.
But it sucks you in though, because
watch.
if you watch Law and Order and you hear that guy in this day, you're like this.
Yeah.
You know who he reminds you of? He reminds you of Jake the Snake Roberts. Jake the Snake did not yell. He didn't scream.
Yeah.
He spoke to you. He talked to you. He looked at you and said, he dragged you in. And when he had a conversation and when he had in depth, the camera was like this.
I mean, but the architect didn't give me that. I thought this was the main reason why the Matrix exists, and I'm thinking we're about to get a full explanation. Instead, we just get a lot of talking about. There were more than one of you.
Absolutely.
Look at the screen behind me.
Yes.
It's different versions of how you came here and saw me with that.
Yes,
and they all have the same reaction. It was cool.
Yeah. It
makes sense. It didn't give me the bow.
It
didn't tie the bow it didn't tie the knot into a complete bow. Today's episode is brought to you by Hollis Haven, revolutionizing the truck driver's experience at every stop. Make sure you follow the website at hollishaven.com and follow on all social media platforms, and make sure you use that hashtag #SafeStopsAhead. Then we wait.
Into a knot.
No, it literally made a worse knot, because then they made another knot on top of it by calling it Matrix Resurrection.
Oh, that was beautiful. You ain't like that one. That was for today's time. Neo went along and became the person that's in real world. He's going to be a worker. And how many people can resonate to that to this day? I'm going to be a regular worker. I'm not going to be an entrepreneur. I'm not going to reach my higher heights. I'm just going to go ahead and punch a clock. I'm going to get paid every Friday. I'm going to get a week's worth of vacation, and I'm going to work a whole year to get a week's worth of vacation. That's what happened to Neo. And then when he had to be reminded of who he was, that little girl called Rabbit, the same Rabbit he had to follow in part 1. The white rabbit. You remember that? Before he got the pill?
The tattoo that was just on a random girl's back?
Absolutely.
But actually,
Only he knew.
Trinity was supposed to be the white rabbit. So there's your conflict right there.
Hold on a minute now. Trinity came later on, and then to add into... Wait, hold on.
He met her in the club.
He met her in the... Wait. You talking about the last one or the first one?
In the first one, Neo met...
I'm talking about the last one.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the last one.
Oh, my bad. They rebooted it, right?
Yeah. They sure did. And that was a good boot. That was a good size fit-all boot.
It was an Aldo boot.
Man,
that's fine.
And then the message behind it. The fact that Neo realized who he was. When he remembered who he was and he realized he wasn't a game designer, you remember when he chopped that door handle? He had to remember who he was. Wait a minute. I don't have to keep his... He chopped it. He chopped it and remembered who he was. And the fact that when he found the love of his life, when he found his other half, when he found his beginning and his end, you seen the implosion? When she had to realize, wait a minute, this ain't my family. Hold on a minute. These ain't my kids. I never liked that name anyway. And she grabbed that man's hand, and you see the implosion?
Made that woman leave her whole family. Because
the new architect put her in a position to think that the deception.
There was so many things.
The deception. She made him think. He made her think that was his family. When Neo all along was who she needed. That was the backbone. That was Eve's Adam.
What about Morpheus?
What about him?
The original Morpheus. Impactful.
Absolutely.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yes.
Some Coke bottle glasses.
Absolutely. He
explains to us in the Matrix that literally all of these machines literally want to turn us into this with battery.
Absolutely.
They're using us as an energy. They gave us all of that.
Talk to me.
Who the fuck was that in Resurrections?
Okay, so
who was that?
You do remember that unfortunately Morpheus died, right? The real Morpheus died. There was a statue of him. You know, that broke Jada Pinkett's heart when she was walking past and showing Neo the solitude and the statue of Morpheus. So then we had to come up with a configuration of Morpheus with the new machines.
So you're going to give us this, and you're going to give us the machine version. Whom of which you was against in the first place?
Who else you going to give him?
No. You could have just not casted Morpheus. You could have just said he was dead.
Why?
You could have just...
Why? They did. And the fact that his soul lived on.
And made
I'll give it to you like this. Is anybody going to forget about Bob Marley?
No.
Why?
Because of the impact that he's made on the culture himself. And his music is going to live forever. And his words is going to live forever. They never said, hey, Ziggy, hey, Damien, can you dress up like your dad and sing all of the songs your dad does? No.
Well, no, because they're
No.
that's his children,
Yeah.
and they're reliving his legacy because they're talking about shots.
Not asking him to. They're not
The
asking
point-
him to.
the
They
point-
asked
the point
this.
I'm making-
They asked this
Go
black man, "Hey, we need you to be somebody who we held in high regard and high reverence." But I want you to shit on everything that he's done because you are absolutely mischievous.
And you're talking about another world that he was an agent first. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's even worse.
No,
so you made it's just too many conflictions that they made with Resurrections.
I loved it, but I'm gonna let you finish your.
I was not. I to me okay. Well, then maybe we might be in the middle of that one there because I was not a big fan of that reboot. It was terrible. They did too many callbacks. It was beautiful. The Merovingian callback.
It was beautiful. You didn't like the fact that his wife Trinity. Had the ability to fly
and
amongst.
Now Trinity got powers.
Isn't that beautiful?
No.
And you know that happened after she linked with her husband.
No.
She linked with her better half.
Trash.
Beautiful.
They just said, you know what? Trinity can do this now. Well, why? No, because we can.
No, because she's seen the love of her life.
Because she saw the love of her life,
and she grabbed his hand.
Let's move on.
And then
let's move on. What we talk about here? Because that one was not my favorite one. Do you have give me another classic reboot or remake?
So I'll give you I'm gonna give you a classic because it's old. I'm not gonna give you a classic because it's classic. I'm gonna give you 18.
Okay.
18 was a TV show. It wasn't a movie. It was a TV show that was turned into a movie.
Yep.
That TV show started at 1983 with 5 seasons now.
Yeah.
And that was pretty good back then.
Yeah.
You know, with the all-starter cast, you had George Poppert as Hannibal.
Yeah.
You had it's funny. Dwight Schultz, there's a Caucasian man named Dwight. Dwight as Murdoch. You had Dirk.
Bad face Murdoch.
Yeah, right. You had Dirk Benedict as Templeton, and you had the iconic, the man that beat Rocky the first time, Mr. T as Baracus.
As B.A. Baracus.
The reason why I did not like the A-Team is because it was the same old thing. Hey, we're in a jam. Hey, Murdoch's going to think about it. Hey, I love it when the plan comes together. Hey, Mr. T punches a guy and everything blows up.
Everything blows up. Everybody gets shot. Nobody dies.
And what happened? The first season did the same thing.
Yep.
The second season did the same thing. The third season did the same thing. The fourth and fifth was good little
Yeah.
But it did the same thing. Now.
The movie.
June 3rd, 2010. I'm going to go with the cast of Bradley Cooper as Templeton.
Great pick.
Quentin Rampage Jackson, who was the champion at the time of USC, was Baracus.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson.
Excuse
me.
Yeah.
Many apologies. Yeah. My tongue a little heavy.
It's all right.
Excuse me. Liam Neeson as Murdoch and Sharlto Copley. I would have to show you who he was.
Yeah, because
I seen his name.
I have no idea who
but he played as Hannibal. Now, the good thing about that is their chief and staff set them up, put them in a position where they had to lose their stripes. Jessica Alba was in that movie. She was in that movie, and she was the commander that had to lay down the law and let them know that they were going to get locked up. Now, Hannibal's good thinking. Nope, not Hannibal. Murdoch, good thinking. Put them in a position to escape that. You know that Murdoch allegedly killed himself in jail. He had to inhale a cigarette that had embalming fluid, and he killed himself, and he died for 10 minutes, and he woke up in the infirmary?
No.
Not only
I didn't know. No.
Not only that, Baracus, who was played by Quentin Rampage Jackson, he read Lao Tzu's, and he realized that violence wasn't the way. So he stopped throwing a punch.
I read Dr. Seuss. I know his brother. Ain't that Lao Tzu's brother?
Red fish, blue fish, orange fish, you fish.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is that they had these stipulations in play, and that was a real plan that came together. When they came out, Quentin Rampage Jackson had a very in-depth conversation with Murdoch.
So I'm gonna keep it all the way tall with you. I remember watching the A-Team. My pops loved the A-Team. He watched the A-Team wholeheartedly. When I knew the movie was coming out, I was like, "Yo, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be something that we need to watch." And then I saw it. You know what I'm saying? Have you checked the stats on that on the A-Team's movie?
Yeah, I mean 177 mil worldwide with a budget of 110 million.
Yeah,
that's a crazy flip.
How much? Yeah, I mean that is a flip. That is indeed a flip. Crazy
flip. And rumor has it, February 5th, February 5th, 2006, they're going to remake it because they left on a cliffhanger. Because remember, they got caught at the end.
Yeah.
And then my man, what's his name? Templeton, he had a key in his mouth and said, I love it when the plan comes together.
Look, man.
Talk to me.
Rotten Tomatoes has given it a solid 49%, which means that only half the people would like it. That means half the people thought it was cool. Now the fan vote is giving it a 66, and I mainly think it was because of the action. Bradley Cooper definitely owned his. Yeah. Do I want to? Would I mind seeing a part 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. But it's the fact that the show to me wasn't that crazy to me. It's the whole blowing up and everybody getting shot at and stuff like that. Yeah. But nothing happened. Whereas in this one, you see niggas die.
People died.
You saw some people dying.
The colonel died.
So I ain't gonna harp on the A-Team too much because I feel like my pop is gonna chase me down and be like, hey, don't talk about that.
He should.
Now, something that I know that my speaking of which my father, I want to talk about how about a sequel or a saga or a trilogy, if you will, that came out in the 60s and did just as well as it should have in the 2000s.
I think I know where you're going.
I really want to talk about Planet of the Apes.
Ooh, that was good.
So
that was good.
I'm gonna put it to you like this.
You gonna talk about? Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm sorry. The Planet of the Apes, the old ones.
I think I know where you're going.
The names themselves was fire.
Yeah, it was.
You know what I'm saying? You had Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Oh man.
Then you had Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
That's
dangerous.
It's not Planet of the Apes 1, Planet of the Apes 2,
Right.
Planet of the Apes 3.
Right.
No.
There's some
Let's
actual
go
names.
ahead and switch that up.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm not mistaken, is that Charlton Heston?
That is.
Charlton Heston was holding it down. Get your hands off me, you damn dirty ape. And at that time, that wasn't cool. So you could say that.
No, you couldn't.
But so they didn't do that. Right. But now when I watched the old ones, I liked it. I did love how they tried to. I love how the older versions of it, they really made it seem like this was a world. Like I wanted to be in that the Planet of the Apes. Like it really felt like that. Even though the prosthetics was a little, it's the 60s, it's the 70s. It's not.
I mean, Jim Henson did it. The same person that did Muppet Babies. Was the same person that did that. So credit to his genius. It worked. And he did the Ninja Turtles.
Listen, and that itself, you know what I'm saying? There's a couple parts where you see him open his mouth. And But hey,
I ain't complaining.
They had to do what they had to do. And not to mention, at that time, you ain't have 4K.
No.
You had that, whatever that resolution was. Now,
up the street.
I'm saying that to say is, now, that was you would say a success.
Absolutely.
That saga, right?
Absolutely.
Do you recall in like the early 2000s, Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah, I remember that.
Did the Planet of the Apes?
I did.
And at the end of it, it was like Abraham Lincoln, but he was
he was screwed.
Man, that movie was terrible.
You didn't like it?
I did not like it.
Really?
I did not like it.
So I'm gonna do us all a favor, and I'm gonna cut the ribbon on this new business.
Go ahead.
What I liked about Mark Wahlberg's Planet of the Apes, he started out as a scientist, and he was doing back research on the apes to the point where when he stumbled across the Planet of the Apes, he was the first of his kind to actually bear witness to the Planet of the Apes and realize how they were going to be in their habitat. He was going to take that information and go back to his world. Unfortunately, he got trapped in. He got so trapped that he almost made love to an ape woman. Almost.
That is nasty.
Almost.
It's nasty as hell.
I mean, I'm not gonna go in depth on how she looked in her lingerie.
Ain't that how the bubonic plague got spread? Didn't somebody bang a monkey?
And maybe Planet of the Apes was on something. But the point I'm making is she had to do a ritual dance, and she did one of these. Matter of fact, the same move that Jill Scott did on "Come On, Mr. Dynamite" and "Come and Get Me" on "Get On Up." That's the same thing that ape did. And Mark Wahlberg thought about it long and hard. Hold on a second. Let me moonwalk on that one. He thought about that extensively.
Whoa.
Let's do a double spin on that one.
He took a double take on that thought.
He took a double take because she was in the lingerie and she was shaking it and shimmying it
now,
as if she had ones thrown on her. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
You might have enjoyed that one. But you know which one I enjoyed way more than that?
Oh, man. Talk to me.
Listen, in 2011, they went back on it.
Yeah, they sure did.
And they said it's cool for y'all to give us, the Planet of the Apes. Y'all giving us the human side.
Yeah.
Like y'all giving us how the humans would interact if there was a Planet of the Apes, and how did y'all escape, and it's the humans that were trapped in the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Let's role reverse it. Let's reboot it.
Yeah.
Let's now look at this in the eyes of an ape. Of a chimpanzee. Let's look at this through the eyes of Caesar.
That was beautiful.
Let's talk about
that was good.
Oh my God, what's his name? My boy. It's not Sudeikis. Oh my God. Hold on. We gonna. Let me see. Planet of the Apes. Cause he took the live action version. Andy Serkis. Now, Andy Serkis live action version of him made you feel Caesar.
Yes.
When I'm talking about that version of Caesar, everybody saw themselves in Caesar, even though Caesar was a primate, like he was a monkey, like he was an ape.
He was a pet,
but yet he was tested on. He was they tested him. He was poked. He was prodded. He then began to get a certain type of normal intelligence. And that gave me a different look on animal testing and stuff like that. They made that give us something more palatable, and then they built on those Planet of the Apes. So there you had the rise of the Planet of the Apes. Then you had the dawn of the Planet of the Apes. You had the war for the Planet of the Apes. But this is not about the war of the humans versus the apes, but it's the humans aspect. It's like, no, Caesar built up a team. Caesar built up a family. He built up all of that lifestyle because the humans were mean. The humans were wrong. They even gave us a conflict between two apes, two non-human people. And you felt the conflict between the two of them. Apes together strong, right? But Cobra said, no, but they are against us. They only want to test us. They only want to use us as weapons. Look at what they did to my man's here. Look at what they did to the orangutan. They used him as a muscle here. And Caesar was sitting there telling you, like, no, we can coincide with him. You know why? Because the dude that raised me, the owner, the scientist that had me,
he loved me.
He wasn't none of that.
No.
So him wanting to save the human race for that aspect, and Cobra wanted to be on the other side where, no, we need to run this world ourselves. We need to have our own planet. That gave a story and an aspect of it that now that reboot and that remake, it takes apart a whole different turn. Now, you know, they did mess it up with the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It wasn't all the way bad.
Yeah, it was all right.
But it was just all right. You know what I mean? Like that's one of my favorite ones. But
just to touch on the fact that with Cobra and Caesar, it sounded a whole lot like Professor X and Magneto.
Come on now.
I mean, the fact that Magneto only wanted his brothers, his mutant race, and the fact that why are we coexisting with these people that mean us all harm? All harm.
Come on, man.
And the fact that going back to the X-Men and going back to the Days of Future Past, there was another movie after that called The Apocalypse.
All right, and that was okay. That one was okay. It was okay. It's where they went worse. Apocalypse was not that bad. Cause all right.
Why was Apocalypse bad? Why was the movie terrible?
Well,
I'll address it after you. I'm going to sit here and be quiet like a church boy.
I can understand why Apocalypse was as bad because Apocalypse, the villain himself, was supposed to be way more powerful. He was the very first mutant. And for him being the first mutant, that means he's supposed to have all of the powers. He's supposed to have all of the encompassing powers that then let off. All of them are his children, right? And the leadership of making them his disciples was there. Now, the execution-wise, all right, I can understand that. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead.
Okay, so let me go in between these ropes and interrupt this 3 count. So I can resonate to that movie to this day because it's times where, matter of fact, I'll give you a scene. The scene that he was speaking to Eric. The scene that he had to remind Eric that he is a top-tier mutant. The things that he had to remind him of. You lost your family to these people that you want to coexist with. Because at some point, Eric was going to think about joining. He was going to think about joining Professor X.
Yep.
He thought about it
he did.
until he realized that's fine. That's fine. But there's a thing about agreeing to disagree, and the fact that these same people that you want to save is the same people that killed my family. And I sat and watched them. The same people that branded me and sent me off to another place away from my family. These same people that looked at me with disgust, and he calls them Homo sapiens. And the fact that Apocalypse came and just talked to him, even though he's all powerful.
Give you everything.
Listen, even though he's all powerful and he could have shaped this, he spoke to him.
He could have made
and what did that remind you of? That reminds you of a scripture where it says God spoke this world in existence. He didn't create it; he spoke it. Meaning, he said, "Air, air; sun, sun; chair, chair." He made and manifested everything. So when he was sitting up here and he was about as close as I was to the microphone as he was to Eric,
Yeah.
he got all power. He reached his hand down, and all the metal that came from every part of this world came up in his hand because he spoke to him. That right there can resonate to me, because how many times have you heard somebody say, how can my day get any worse? And it does. They spoke that.
You keep bringing it
but
up.
then when you talk about manifestation and you talk about, listen, I'm going to have a good day on purpose. I'm going to have a blessed day on purpose. I'm going to rule this day and I'm going to rule the other day. Then it becomes so it is so. And like you have the King Midas touch because you spoke it. That right there was one of my favorite parts of that movie.
But
talk to me.
You could also understand why people don't like that movie.
No,
you know what I mean.
It.
You don't understand why?
I don't understand.
I mean, Apocalypse was definitely not as big of a threat as we wanted him to be.
He was.
Yeah, he was not.
He was. They got caught up in the way he looked. They got caught up in the way he walked.
Yeah, I didn't like the neck. And like he didn't move. He couldn't move his neck. It was the Batman.
But he's the first. And then the fact that he was in Egypt way before, and he was the first mutant ever. And he showed it when he went towards Archangel and he spoke life into him. He went from feather wings to metal wings. When he gave Storm her true powers by speaking to her.
Yeah,
he didn't have to magnify or he didn't have to put no spell and none of the cartoonish stuff. He spoke it.
Yeah.
And once he spoke it, man, I'm telling you what, Archangel wasn't the same.
Well, you're speaking some bullshit because the movie was okay. It was just okay. All right. Because should we keep going?
Please.
Because what came after Apocalypse?
The Dark Phoenix.
Which was, you want me to look up? Did you want me to tell you the numbers on that? Because Apocalypse was 47% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Which means like less than half the critics enjoyed it, and then 65%, which means there are people that enjoyed it. Now, myself,
hold on a minute. Now,
I enjoyed it a little bit.
It did, but it did rake in 543 million.
Yeah, but you're gonna make that money back.
543. No. That wasn't the budget. That's what they made.
You're gonna make that
the first weekend.
You're gonna make
weekend is Saturday and Sunday.
You using the X-Men name.
That's fine.
You're gonna make that back.
A smart business.
Do I gotta tell you about? All right. So Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
Is 22.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I have no rebuttal to that. That was terrible.
Absolute trash.
That was terrible.
And for that,
garbage.
That's what can make your remakes and
Yes, so absolutely.
Now the question that remains. Now that we didn't gave a premise. Now let's really get into this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Does these remakes of these classic films ruin the legacy, or is it introducing them to a new generation? What's your thoughts?
Okay, so I'm going to say a little bit of both, because the A-Team, even though it was a terrible show, in my opinion, it embraced a lot of today's situation with the movie, which something that they talked about for years before it was even completed, and the fact that they still fought for a part 2, which is coming.
Yeah.
So I think it helped. X-Men, that first movie opened the way for all the other terrible, bad, good, great movies.
Okay.
So I'm going to say a little bit of both, because First Class was terrible. Days of Future Past was awesome.
Awesome. Fire.
Apocalypse was the bomb.
It was good.
It was a detonator.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
But Dark Phoenix was not good at all.
It was a bomb on itself.
So on my side, it looks like both.
Today's episode is brought to you by Hauler's Haven, revolutionizing the truck driver's experience at every stop. Make sure you follow the website at haulershaven.com and follow on all social media platforms. And make sure you use that hashtag #SafeStopsAhead. I can agree with you. I think that it's case by case.
Talk to me.
Because there are certain movies that you're wondering why are they even bringing this out. You know what I mean? Like I don't necessarily care. I didn't care about Jaws after the first one. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't necessarily care for what was it?
Free Willy.
Well, yeah. Oh yeah.
I only watched it because Michael Jackson was on the track.
Straight to you talk about
it was stupid. Movie, it was terrible.
Straight to DVD.
Yeah, Tubi.
You know what I mean? Like when you think of like the remakes or the sequels that ruin it, I think they stay too long.
Yeah.
And that's more so of the business of that's the business of the intellectual property.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if they're gonna try to milk this cow the way that they milk this cow, I mean, for God's sakes, the one remake or reboot that we haven't mentioned that we don't need to talk about is, maybe Dark Knight. You know, like the when you think of Batman, there's always going to be a new Batman.
It is.
They're going to remake and reboot Batman because
Yes.
the intellectual property is going to
Yes.
be like that.
Yes.
But you're going to have
Yes.
some hits. You're gonna, and I feel like there's been more hits than misses when it comes to those reboots and remakes.
I agree.
But then you got some remakes or reboots or a sequel that was long awaited for and long, like, critically acclaimed, and then when it came out, it was shit.
You're like the Son of the Mask.
What about Coming to America?
Coming to America was
Coming to America.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to Africa.
I'd rather you not come back to America. I'd rather you stay right where you at. You know what I'm saying?
It didn't make sense. I mean, that all-star studded cast, they could have took that same money, and shout out to Tyler Perry. If you're watching, give us a call. He allowed.
I don't want the wig. My wig gonna be off. It's cool though.
That's fine. He allowed them to use his studio to film that. And shout out to the boss. I get confused sometimes by the boss, but he allowed them to use his house. So that aspect of it was good. The fact that we were seeing Eddie Murphy on the screen again was good.
Right.
The fact that we seen Arsenio Hall, because after the show for the second time, I didn't know where he went.
Good.
But there he is. That was good.
Yep.
To see James Earl Jones before he passes away,
Facts.
for real,
Talk about
was
it.
good.
Talk about it.
The fact that they gave
Go ahead. What was Akeem's son's name?
Akeem's son.
In Coming to America.
It was Akeem's son.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just wondering. And who was the love interest in that movie? Like, who was because in the first Coming to America, we all know it was Akeem and who?
Yeah.
Lisa McDowell, right?
Yeah,
we know Lisa McDowell.
Of course.
We even know her sister.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We even know the daddy.
Yeah.
Can you name me any other part or any other entity into there that? How did we even get Eddie Murphy? How did we even get Akeem's son?
Well, he slept with the character.
Who was the character?
I'm gonna say her real name, Leslie Jones.
Yeah, because we don't know the actual name. No.
I'm gonna say Leslie Jones and the fact that
you made me smoke this funny cigarette.
Yeah,
No.
That was unnecessary.
No.
That didn't need to happen.
Absolutely.
And the fact that he was married to his love interest in the first time. How come? I mean, they had kids too. But
like why couldn't y'all have had a kid right then and because we gotta have them a reason to come to America. Her daddy there.
Yeah.
Her sister there.
Yeah.
He got all the reasons to be there.
And the sister and Soul Glow didn't even make an appearance.
They didn't even show up.
They didn't even make an appearance.
Did it die?
And the fact that at the end of the first, at the end of the first one, Lisa dumped me, and she said, "Oh, you poor thing." You know what happened after that?
No, what she did. She unzipped his pants.
Man, she
That's
was
all
rocking
I
the
heard.
bells.
And he
That's
looked right
what
at
she
the
was doing.
camera and said, "Yep."
Yeah, man, she was shaking some sheets.
Hey, man, listen.
Yes, sir.
Hey, being brothers and tunnel buddies is
listen,
a wild thing.
His soul was glowing that night.
And definitely. And listen, I mean, we could talk about reboots and remakes all day.
Absolutely.
We more than likely we can have another set. You know what I mean? Like I think I got a couple more reboots and remakes. But hey, shout out to y'all out there in the comment section. Let us know which reboot or which remake or which sequel was one of your favorites. Is there any ones that you loved, or is there any ones that you're absolutely going to hate? If I got before we get out of here, I do think that we need maybe one or two. Is there any reboots or remake that they haven't done just yet that you wouldn't mind them rebooting or remaking?
Yeah. No.
He said, "Yeah, no, okay." I can honestly tell you that there's been so many movies that have been done, and there's been like, if it ain't a remake of it, if this ain't a reboot of it, it's more of a It's one of those things where I kind of would like to see it again, but I don't want y'all to taint what we already have.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I didn't ask for a Beetlejuice sequel, but if I watch it, is it gonna bring me that nostalgia? I didn't ask for a Hocus Pocus 2. You get what I'm saying?
Hocus Pocus was garbage.
I do want them to try Home Alone one more time. I didn't like the Home Sweet Home, but I do want them to try another Home Alone.
Listen, if Macaulay Culkin is not involved, and you see what happened when he wasn't. When Macaulay Culkin is not involved, the movie is terrible. It's awful. Who? But have you seen him since then?
But it's the Christmas aspect. Yeah. It's the robbing of the house, like that premise itself.
It was stupid.
That premise can be.
It was redundant.
It
was redundant.
They definitely can.
It was stupid.
On a dead horse. Okay.
Yeah, you could have just brought back Macaulay Culkin, and he could have did part 3, and we wouldn't have cared. We wouldn't have gave a damn.
Okay.
Because the first one and the second one was the same movie. It was just filmed in different places, but we didn't care because it was that good. And he was boys with Michael Jackson. You know, he was going to get a fire soundtrack.
Yeah, the album.
We was going to get some type of appearance.
Definitely gonna be hot.
Yeah, absolutely,
Now,
absolutely.
Well, then I guess I'll just have to pull my ace in the hole. I'm always gonna go black. I'm always gonna go with something that was done one hand and they never touched on it again and they never did it again.
Okay.
And I'm wondering why. I wouldn't mind a revamping of Meteor Man. If you think about how the superhero.
Wow.
Think about it. We're pushing
a
black superhero, right?
You know what?
We end up keep taking somebody and
That
then
was
making
good.
them black.
That was good.
Like
right.
Already have a black suit. Now
we do.
Hancock was an amazing movie, right?
Absolutely. I want to see another
out of
one.
nowhere. It was left field, right?
Yeah, it was.
But give me that.
Yeah.
Give me something where it's a black superhero in the world.
Yes.
And he only, his community was fine or his community could get fixed.
Absolutely.
But he can also help save the world.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't mind that.
Nah, I don't mind either.
We also just want to introduce a new segment on the show too. You know what I'm saying? Just
really?
an entity on the show because I think because we talk about these movies and we talk about music. People always want to test our intellect when it comes to these type of things. You know what I'm saying? So I want to throw in a new segment. Who knows? You know what I mean? Who knows is going to be the segment. That's the question. It's going to be like, so I think there's going to be a trivia question that comes in. Right now, we got it coming from the studio. But, if this, not even if this works, when this works, in the comments section, hey, put in the comments section. If you really want to try to stump us, I want y'all to give us a good trivia question that's going to stump either me or King T-Reid himself.
You could try.
Or you could try to stump both of us. But we have an encyclopedia of useless information.
Yes,
but
sir.
right now,
Absolutely.
we're going to take one from the studio, and I think T-Reid, this one is going to be on you. So I think you're going to get a message coming from the studio.
Coming from the studio?
Yeah.
Where is it coming from? I'm looking for it. Come on, give it to me. Where's it? Oh, wait a minute. Check this out. Ooh. Look at that.
Gotta have that. Now, with that, I want you to ask the question.
Okay.
And then, we'll think about the question.
Right.
We'll think about the answer together. Or if you already got the answer, you know what I'm saying, let me know.
We're going to go ahead and, man, this studio did a good job folding this thing, didn't it?
Yeah, but I like how you just tearing it up.
Hey, listen.
We could have reused that.
I think we could have. I thought it was a check. We got paid now.
I wanted to check.
We got paid now.
Go ahead.
Okay. In what classic stand-up, everybody, are you ready for the question? My brother, are you ready?
I'm ready.
King Reid, are you ready? Absolutely. In what classic stand-up comedy special was the question asked, why is the fire so big?
Ooh. Okay. I know the answer.
Do you?
I do know the answer.
Because I don't.
Yeah, I do know the answer.
Okay.
I believe that answer would be Eddie Murphy's Delirious when he was talking about his dad and his uncle and having the cookout. And his uncle was the one. He's like, hey man, you ain't putting enough barbecue things on the ribs. He said, there ain't enough fire on that rib. Now, that's a fire. You know what I'm saying? When your burgers
I remember that. I do remember that.
You know what I'm saying?
1-0.
Yeah, I mean? So, we appreciate that. I love that question, and we're going to keep that going. You know what I'm saying? So thank y'all for that segment of Who Knows.
Absolutely.
If y'all don't know right now, if you got a question that you think you can stump us, now that's pretty easy. You know what I'm saying? I believe that the studio can work a lot harder for that one. And I believe that T-Reid there's gonna be a couple of them that you got. Now,
oh yeah, absolutely.
If y'all want to, put it in the comment section below. If you want to, you can also donate or add to the super chat. Or if you want to follow us on the social media to ask us a question, make sure you gave us the @ sign, call it How I See It Show, and say question. That could be your thing.
Beautiful.
Now, back to the final remarks when it comes to reboots and remakes. I already told you what I would like to see again, and you said that you don't have anything like that.
I don't like nothing.
Is there any reboots or remakes that you want to shed some light or show some love to that maybe we haven't mentioned just yet?
That silence was not me looking for an answer. That silence was actually silence because I have nothing. All the movies that I've seen in my Rolodex, all the ones in my encyclopedia are done properly.
Okay.
And they should not mess with them at all.
Okay.
When they do mess with them, like Little Mermaid, they should have left that alone.
Why do you say that?
I understand why they were trying to do it. But, again, I'm a big fan of originality.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, if you have the budget and you have the people, then do a storyline that's organic.
So it has nothing to do with Ariel being black.
It has a lot to do with Ariel being black.
Really? Because
Yeah,
I mean, Halle Bailey has a great voice.
She has a great
voice.
Amazing, right? And she herself is amazing.
Yes,
she herself can sing. Yeah. She could be doing things on her own. We don't need to be thrown a bone. Okay. You know, we need to be thrown opportunity. There's something that we can create ourselves. So we've been doing that for a while. Meteor Man is an original.
Yeah,
it's an original. And it came from Eddie Griffin. It was a joke.
Yes. Yep.
Let's keep that going. I like that. Hancock was original. Let's keep that going.
I like that.
I love originality. I love when we stand up on our own too. I have no problem lifting ourselves up by our own bootstraps. That's not an offense to me. That's a dare. Yeah. I dare you to do it.
Oh man, listen, T-Reid, we can talk about this all day. We can put a pin in it because it looks like we got some more reboots and remakes that's down the line that we could do. Right now in the comments section, y'all can throw in there, hey, which one of your movies has been remade or redone or rebooted that you were a fan of? Give me one that you didn't really like, that you absolutely hated. Give me the worst reboot remake in the comments, and then give me your favorite reboot and remake. But we just gave you a few of ours, and it ain't really gonna matter, what you put in the comment section, because at the end of the day,
I call it how I see it.